He's gonna go. He's gonna fight me. He's a big monkey. He thinks he's awesome.
Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is like the adventure book for Chronicles of Drunagor, the Age of Darkness. This is a dungeon delving board game with RPG elements that is a very commonly themed type game, and I'm always intrigued to play these whenever they come out, and they were kind enough to ask me to take a look at it and give me my thoughts, and well, give me my thoughts, give them my thoughts, and you for that matter if you're watching this video. So I can remember when I first got into this hobby over a decade ago, the idea that you were going to have an RPG experience in a board game just was like this goal, this dream, right? And there's been lots of games that have traveled down that path, and they presented different ways. And some have been better than others. I mean, obviously, like the grandfather of most of them would be Descent. And remember, I mentioned Descent, and we'll come back to that here in just a little bit. And for the most part, I've really enjoyed playing most of them due to the fact that I just really dig. I really enjoy the whole process, right? I've always been a really big fan of fantasy and fantasy role playing, and when I can still like scratch the itch a little bit, because truth be told, I'd rather play D&D over pretty much any board game anytime. It's just that there's a lot that goes into the process of setting up D&D, getting it ready there, and going through that process. And so if I can scratch the itch of playing a fantasy role-playing game with a board game and having a artificial intelligence directing the monsters and directing the campaign, then I'm all for it, and it definitely makes for a fun evening. So Chronicles of Drunagor is a fantastic game. It's just the artwork's amazing, the presentation's amazing, the dungeon feels like a dungeon. There's been a lot of the games like this that doesn't ever feel like I'm in a dungeon. It doesn't feel like there's anything really going on, but it has everything that I'm looking for. It has mechanisms that are easy to teach, easy to learn, and very straightforward. It allows for a cooperative experience, like a true cooperative experience, like people discussing what they should do and how they should proceed to the next thing. It adds a narrative element, which is missing from a lot of these types of games, and it also just adds just the immersion is there, right? Like the feeling of let's make good choices, let's make good decisions, and actually feeling like you're exploring and feeling like you're actually in the setting that you're in, and it makes a lot of why this game is enjoyable. So let me show you some of the game and how it's played, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Since not all dwarf warriors are made alike, there will be a second section here in the middle, which is the role that you're going to take for this particular dungeon crawl. In this case, Vorn is going to take on the leader role, and he's going to have some other skills that are going to be associated here. And you might notice that they are like the 4 different colors that are listed here means that those skills can be activated by any of the action cubes. However, the color of the action cube will actually determine the distance that those particular action skills can use. So melee skills normally can only be done with the yellow, and these are kind of an orangey, but just that's the yellow for this particular prototype that I was given. So those would be melee adjacent things, but as you get into ranged attacks and so forth, the distance that you're going to be able to activate these particular skills will increase when those are used. Finally, over here you have this is kind of if you've played pretty much any online MMO or any kind of a fantasy-based computer game, you've probably dealt with a skill tree of some sort, and you can see that there are these different skill trees that you can branch out as you level, and these are your class abilities, and as you branch out you will gain certain skills, and I'll just pick this up and show this to you now. And so this one obviously it has the warrior hero class in the back, but some of these when they branch out, if you go to tactics and you get to this spot, then you'll have 2 two options of where you can go here, you know, and then you know, same thing here. But like one of them, like in defense, it's just like a single pathing that you'll take, and depending upon like how you want to play that particular adventure, you will, as you level up, you can you know, take these different paths and increase those abilities. Now, since this isn't a campaign that I'm showing, the campaign will actually have you earn experience as you, just classic D&D wise, you know, like you'll go into a dungeon, you'll earn experience, you'll, you know, defeat monsters, achieve successes, you know, and treasure and things like that, and then you'll earn experience that you'll then spend to level up your character, and you'll continue playing. However, if you're playing just like kind of a one-shot, hey, let's just play this one night thing, like you will have a situation where every time you kill a monster, you will level up, and then you have these like level up cards here, and then you just kind of just use this particular token and go, for every time you kill monsters, you'll just move up. And so like first one here, it's, you know, these are shuffled up and they can be random, so like it would be different, but like this first one here, you get a hero class level up, then you get a skill ability, and here you have a choice between, you can get a focus or a shield, you can cleanse darkness from you, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit, or you can just heal hit points, you know, as well. So, you know, there's you know, these like you, even with like a one-shot, one evening type of thing, you can still experience that leveling up, and you can still enjoy that leveling up portion. All right, so now over here, and just really briefly, this is just a way for you to keep track of the different monsters and their hit points, and like if they have any conditions that are affecting them. And as you can see, like here's some skeleton archers, but they have different colored bases, so you know, obviously then you can track by looking at the different colors on this particular board. And the game comes with several of those bases that you'll just attach to those monsters as you play. Up here, you'll actually see initiative board. So on the initiative board, it has a top portion which starts at 22, moves all the way down, then it goes down here 10, and then goes all the way down to -1. And so, like I rolled a d20 to, and then each character will have like a card that they'll place on the initiative board, and then the monsters will actually just have a location that they're placed on that particular that list. And so when you have a combat, you'll go through that initiative process, and then each person will go. And if you've played, you know, like any of the versions of Dungeons and Dragons that have come out since like 3rd edition, the initiative or like the initiative board should be very familiar to you. But it's a very, very good way, and once again, it adds to that strategy and that tactics level, because you can see who's going to be up next, you can see what's going to happen, you can go through it. Now, there is one thing here at the very end. You have this thing that says draw 1 rune. This bag here has these rune tiles in it, and I'll show this more when we actually get to like a combat or whatever. But when you draw a rune tile, you'll have this little figure over here, and what that does is it tells you that the darkness is spreading. And on the beginning, you'll see there's this little spot right here where the darkness starts in this little corner spot that's right there, and you will draw darkness tiles and you will add them to the board. So I drew that type of Tetris tile, and you know, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but the darkness will seek to overcome and like kind of move over the heroes, and when it moves over the heroes, it's going to like do damage to you, and it's going to make it tougher for you to hit monsters. It's going to make monsters easier to hit you. So it's a way to like kind of keep people moving forward and keep the tension level pretty high, because obviously like if the heroes lose, then it's a cooperative game, and you've lost that particular adventure. All right, so there's no like, so the beginning here is just like you have like the room to set up. The game will tell you, you know, set up, and I do like these bases. It gives like a kind of a sense of like a 3D sense to the game, and also those do come into play because there are going to be different levels that you're going to do. So, but the way the game works is that you will have like little interaction spots like that will then instruct you to like go through your booklets and actually read those interactions. And so here is like this interactions book, and so this one tells you to actually like it tells you that there is a gargoyle in that particular location, and then you have this picture of a gargoyle, and you can see, and I'm going to kind of try to show these things, like it'll tell you like, pull the blue torch, and then it'll tell you to read. And these are like in the promo adventure, so obviously this is going to be like the real adventure book. And this is just so I can't give you any spoilers for when you have the game itself. But you can see that there are several different things, and it'll tell you to read certain actions if you do those certain things. And so if you decide to do those, then you have, in this case, this is my interactions book. That because it's for the promo adventure, but like it'll actually tell you, like, here's pull the blue torch. As you pull the blue torch, a blaze starts growing and shines the entire room with a strong light, revealing a small hole behind the gargoyle, and the torchlight goes out. Search the level 2 treasure deck until you draw a ring, and then shuffle the rest. So you would get certain cool things if you like. Let me see here. Like examine the broken necklace. You would heal 3 and cleanse 1. Cleansing is that darkness thing again. See on the gargoyle there's like that scroll, that scroll that's sitting in his mouth. So pick up the scroll, 34. So like it says here, pick up the scroll. You begin reading the scroll even without fully understanding its words. As soon as you finish, you hear a scream from the darkness in the corner of the room. It looks like you summoned a creature. Place 1 rotten flesh level 2 monster in the farthest corner from the heroes. So as you can see, those things can be good, can be bad. You definitely need to you explore, and that's kind of like classic D&D, right? If there are things to earn, and there are things that can trap you and that can make things bad for you. Now, eventually what's going to happen, and I'm kind of fast forwarding here a little bit, but you're going to go through the door. And so the cool thing about doors is that the doors here, it says like a strange night, and then dungeon door, promo adventure. So, and then what happens is that a player opens it up, and then you can see it actually describes the next room to you here, and then gives you something to read here. So it says, you enter what appears to be an old weapons deposit lit by candlelight with a lot of shadows in the room. There are old rusty weapons on top of a wooden table, and across the room you can also find scrolls on the table and floor. You feel a cold breeze blow in from a window that extinguishes some of the candles. Sunlight coming out of the shadows. You see monsters coming your way. And so it'll tell you exactly how to set up the next room, which I'm going to do right now, but with the magic of video editing, you're not going to see me set it up. Alright, so now I've gone ahead and set up the next room of the dungeon that we're going to be exploring. And I just wanted to show you that once again, so like there's this bridge that goes across to meet these two rooms, and you can, and this is kind of tough to see, but there's a spiked trap that the players could fall into, and if they did, they would then take damage from that. And this is what I was referencing before as far as the 3D element of the game and how that works. Alright, so I'm just going to show you like how combat works. It's pretty straightforward. The way you go once again through the activation. So like the skeleton archers are going to go on the green rune that's here, but Vorn, the dwarf, gets to go. And so he's kind of worried a little bit about having to deal with this rotten flesh creature here. So he's going to move forward and attack. So on your turn, you're going to be activating. You can activate up 2 cubes, and you can do. You can go ahead and do a move up to 3, and you can move diagonally. There's no this isn't like an orthogonal movement only type of situation. So if he goes 1, 2, 3, and he's on this side of this particular creature. And the reason I moved further was because when darkness spreads, it's going to start here, and I wanted to hopefully get as far away from that darkness area as possible so I don't get trapped in there. But then what I'm going to do is I get to use up to 2 action cubes. Now I could use another. You can use an action cube to move another 3 if you want to, but I'm going to actually try to do his attacks. Now, just quickly, like you can see here, the rotten flesh here, they have so the starting the stats of these are pretty straightforward. It says it's immune to poison there. That's what that green circle is over there. The A means that it is the A side. The B side is a tougher version of it because we're playing 2 players. We're only going to have the A side to deal with. You can see here that it's going to have hit points 3 times the number of players, so it's got a total of 6 hit points. It can move 3, and then if it hits, it's going to do that damage and possibly curse as well. So if I can hit this thing twice, I can possibly take it down, and I can take it out. So, and perhaps then if I don't, then the cleric can move forward and they can, you know, have a shot at destroying it if I don't manage to pull that off. Now, there's lots of different things that you can do here. There are our focus abilities as well that we can spend our focus tokens to do so. Like this one is Power Hammer. If I spend all 3 of my focus tokens, I can use my Power Hammer and then I get a +3 to hit and +3 to damage. And I think I want to do that because my weapon here is my Warhammer, and as you can see, my Warhammer is going to do 2 damage and it hits on a 10 or above. So if I use those focus tokens, all 3 of them, I can then use that and to possibly do 5 points of damage, and then it only needs to hit 1 more time, and we'll take that out. So this is where that strategy and tactics come up as I was referencing, or whatever, you know, that you can do that. And then some abilities, and it might be tough to see here, but like this, like retaliate using a blue cube, you can see there's this little energy token next to that. That means it's a reaction token, which means that if I get hit, I can just do 2 damage to it. So if I'm close to it and it decides to attack me and hit me, maybe that'll kind of stink, but you know, I would be able to kill it if we're not able to kill it this particular turn. So that's kind of, you know, what I want to do. And also, like you can see, like he has martial training, he has a passive ability. On rolls of 17, 18, or 19, use 1 extra action cube. And so what that means is that like he's able to do more damage. He's able to like possibly, so like since he's got that martial training, he can, you know, he's the fighter. This is what he was born to do. So place that guy back there. And so I'm going to do just that. I'm going to spend all 3 of my focus tokens, and I can get those back, so I'm just going to put those off to the side. Like you can get them by, like his battle focus, he can use a red square, a red cube to gain 1 of his focus back. You can get through leveling and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a yellow cube. I'm expending the yellow cube, put it over there. I'm going to roll this, and I'm going to hopefully not roll less than a 7. Ooh, I rolled a 5. But all is not lost, because you can also choose to discard one of your things, which I'm going to do right here, and I'm going to discard that to do a reroll. I'm going to reroll and hopefully not screw this up. And I got a 3. Well, this is me, though. I mean, when I roll dice, I always do horrible on these things. So that's pretty standard for me. But, you know, I'm going to cheat a little bit just so I can kind of show you how this works. So let's just say I rolled let's say I rolled a 12. There you go. So I'm going to do that, like the +3 damage. I'm going to do 5 total damage to that particular creature. So it has the yellow ring, and it had 6 total health, so we're going to put that there, and we're going to lower it down from the 5 points of damage. And while I'm at it, I might as well just go ahead and put the, for the skeleton archers as well. So skeleton archers, you can see the stats over there. They have 2 times the health of the creature. So we're going to go ahead, and for the black, we're going to put a 4. So they have 4 total health. And then for the other one has a blue, so we're going to put that there as well. So now we've got those placed. So now we're just going to go through the process of the initiative. So here we have, like, the skeletons are going to activate, and they are going to attack the closest creature, which is going to be our buddy here. So, and then since, once again, these things just automatically hit, they can shoot up to range of 2. Now I should take a moment to talk about range real quick. Range is considered to be these big blue cubes. You can see there's like a blue cube and these little white cubes inside, so it has they have a range of 2, and unfortunately, like 1, 2, 1, 2, they're both within range of, I didn't really plan that out really quick. So they're going to pepper him with arrows. And so they're going to hit him, both of them are going to hit him for 3 points of damage. We're going to go down to 8. And we're going to go down to 5. So thunk, thunk. Now, I can, however, if I want to, I can use my parry ability, and I can spend 1 of my yellow cubes to go ahead and prevent, I could prevent 2 damage from 1 of those. Also, defensive move, I can prevent 2, and I move 1, and I can shield 1 myself. But I want to stay where I am just in case I can hit it next turn. So I'm only gonna, and I can't spend a green cube anyway because I don't have it. But I'm going to go ahead and spend that. And I'm going to remove 2 of the damage, and I'm going to go ahead and place that there. So that would be the Skeleton Archers. And now, unfortunately, it is these Rotten Flesh. And once again, this he'll attack whoever's got the lowest amount of action cubes, which, of course, would be him. So he's going to go ahead and attack, and it's going to do a total of 3 damage. I'm going to need that cleric pretty soon here. And we're going to get a curse. Now, when I get cursed, curses are bad. So when curses happen, and these are things that you'll have to cleanse off of yourself. Remember I talked about that cleansing ability? You have to take a dark cube, and you actually have to block something that you have. So like maybe like this Battle Master, 2 damage to all adjacent. To me, maybe I'll take that. But remember what I said about taking damage and being able to retaliate? Now I'm going to spend that blue cube like so. I didn't want to block that up, so I want to use it. And now I'm going to retaliate, and I'm going to kill that particular monster. So whew, I don't have to worry about that anymore. And now my cleric's going to be able to go, and he's going to be able to run forward and probably heal me. Now, because the monster got killed, now we'd be able to move that forward like so, because remember, this is a one-shot adventure. And then everybody is going to be able to level up something on their hero class. We'd pick one of those. So when it is the cleric's turn, we can move them forward like so, get them into position, and then you can see that they have several different abilities that allow us to heal, including this one. Cure Wounds, can heal 2 and shield 1. And remember, you can use 2 action cubes, so I could actually use that ability more than once because, well, unfortunately no, because I only have the 1 yellow cube. But so the cleric could spend that yellow cube in one of his actions, heal me 2, give me a shield of 1 that's going to protect me against a further attack, and then perhaps use one of their holy holy light, their ranged attacks to go ahead. Maybe they could do blessed attacks or protection from evil, and then do to protect me, the dwarf, the next one, because they're going to continue attacking the dwarf because he has the least amount of action cubes going on right now. So I'm sorry, no, that was the other one. They're going to attack the closest, so we can just plan for that. And then, now, when you run out of action cubes, you have to do a recall action, which then pushes all of the cubes back over. But when you do a recall, it's like the only thing that you can do that particular turn. Plus, it can happen automatically if you used up your last cube as a reaction to something that happened. So, but those do have to, and so if you're clever, you can maybe try to plan for that and have those cubes then get recalled, before you have to start your next turn. So you can have more actions when your turn happens. So that should give you a pretty good idea of how that progress goes. Now, there is one thing I didn't do. When you draw the rune, and I'm just going to draw one now, but when you draw the rune to determine, I haven't done that. I'm going to draw the rune to determine the darkness. So, okay, hold on. We'll do that. So, okay, so I drew this green rune, and then here is that shape. So first things, you're going to go ahead and you're going to put that there. Now, certain adventures are going to tell you that as you collect these rune tokens on these different spots on your initiative track, different things are going to happen as far as the storyline goes. And that's just one of those things that it's going to once again, add to the narrative, add to the immersiveness of the game, and make it more enjoyable for you. But let me grab that tile and I'll show you how this darkness tile. All right, so here is our darkness tile, and this kind of stinks actually because of the fact that you can't really cheat. Now, the players could say, "Oh, we're gonna just go like this, so it only gets 1." But no, the darkness is smart. It's going to try to get us all, and it's going to envelop us both in its darkness. And when that happens, you actually are going to end up taking 2 damage from being in the darkness, and you want to get out of that as soon as possible. And as I said, if monsters are in it, they will. It makes it. It makes it tougher for them to get hit, and it's just a way that it'll always spread, kind of like an ooze or a slime. Whenever you activate it, it always just spreads and tries to move towards the players to envelop as many of them as it possibly can each particular time. If you ever draw a tile that wouldn't fit into that section, instead of placing, because you can't have it drape over the sides or anything like that, it's got to fit on the board. Instead, what you do is you draw 3 small 1 square one square particular darkness, and you place them in the most advantageous possible. And then from now, like, so when we draw our next tile, we would actually like build it off from the darkness. You don't start on this spot here. You would build the next tile like so. I got this little corner guy here. Like the next time we drew one, we would place that, and we would once again move it towards the heroes. So like maybe if the heroes were here and here, I'll grab that. Then the darkness would move as close as it could while enveloping people. So like it would move like so, because it could only get one, but it would move like that, and it would get the cleric there, and then the cleric would be affected by the darkness as well. So I mean, it's one of those things where it keeps people. You're not going to dawdle. It keeps people constantly being pushed towards like the next thing. So eventually, the heroes will take out these two skeletons. They'll get to this door, and then you're going to have the same exact thing again, where you're going to open up the book, and it's going to tell you exactly what you do, and now you have a flooded room. And like these are once again things like the room is flooded, and because it's flooded it takes extra movement to get through, and so you have environmental effects like that. So the game, like, it tells a very, very interesting story. The game, as you can see, can be very brutal. I mean, like, I wasn't really playing that smart here. I wasn't really looking at the cards and making sure I didn't go do something foolish. But as you can tell, like, if you get one hero hung out to dry, then they will get peppered. They will get attacked. They will, you can, obviously lose. You can have them fall. And then if they do, then you have to, if any of your characters fall in combat, it isn't like the rest of you carry on. Everybody loses. So it is in your best interest to keep everybody alive for as long as possible, because that is how you're going to win the game and get through that particular adventure. Now, you should have a pretty good idea of how the game is played and the flow of the game. I'm going to talk a little bit more about like the narrative aspects of it, and why I really just enjoyed the process, and the fact that it was a game that has a lot going on, but it doesn't have a lot in it. And that might not make a lot of sense, but it's a good thing. Trust me. I'll tell you about it right now. All right, thank you very much for taking the time to watch that video. I hope you found it enjoyable, and I hope you have a good grasp of it. Now, I invite you to go ahead and download the rules, and so you can dig deeper into it. Just because there's more to it. I wasn't going to go through each and every little tiny tidbit or whatever, but for the most part, that's how the game works. You're going to explore the dungeon, you're going to explore the options, and I'm just going to say flat out, the campaign mode is where it's at. You will feel like you're the character. You will feel like you are leveling up and you're getting better. And that's something I think that needs to be done in these games. A lot of times in these games, the getting better, the leveling is like, oh, I got a better sword, or, oh, I found a new spell book, which this game has that. It has like improvements to equipment and things like that. But you actually feel like your character is progressing. They're becoming a better mage. They're becoming a better ranger, a better fighter, so on and so forth. You've unlocked abilities that will synergize with the rest of the party, and you will see like a dramatic like explosion of talent and more party cooperation that I think sometimes gets lost with a lot of these games that are out there. The narrative aspects are fantastic. I love the fact that it's like you're going to turn over a page and you're going to say, this is what we see. Instead of like looking at this little tiny grid, oh yeah, there's a fountain there. It's like, no, this is the fountain. These are the things you can touch. These are the things you can monkey with. The buttons you can push. The stuff that you can, collect the water, or, yank on the lever, or, whatever. And you can talk to each other about what you think you should or shouldn't do in those situations. And plus, the game is brutal. You saw in that combat how, like, since the monsters are deterministic as far as their attacks and their damage, I mean, you are dealing with, like, very, very deadly combat. And you are also dealing with the fact that with the darkness, constantly, like, crawling out to get you, you are being pushed forward. It's just, you have, like, basically, like, one of those, like, moving walls, just kind of, like, constantly moving you forward. Or because if you stay where you are, you're just going to die. And you know, it's one of those things where it is a when you're playing the campaign and like you get to the end of like the little chapter and you're able to relax and go back to your camp and spend your experience points, it's like a relief. But then you realize, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to do it all over again, and it's gonna be even a bigger challenge and a bigger you know, like situation that you're going to have to overcome and defeat. And obviously it's like you have save points, right? Oh, we went back to camp, we leveled up, we went and we didn't succeed. All right, you know, let's go back, let's figure out what we did wrong, and let's start over and do it again. And when you are faced with that, one, you feel a sense of accomplishment when you pull it off, but two, it feeds into that immersion and that narration as well, and it's on par with like any of like the really good D&D modules that I've played, you know, as far as the storylines and as far as the big bad, the Dead King, which you are, as you've probably seen on the covers and stuff like that, that is a boss monster, and boss monster fights are exactly what you think. They are boss monster fights. It isn't just one little activation. They have several different things they're going to be doing, and also the game ramps up really nicely as you have more players. Those cards get flipped over to the B side, so the monsters are more deadly. You also are going to be placing different more cards, not more monsters, but more cards that will actually tell the monsters to take more actions, and they'll be placed on the initiative path as well. So you will have that same monster doing several more actions, you know, as you are like you dealing with it. So they are just going to be even more relentless, and so it doesn't get any easier with more players. You know, it does, I say, ramp up really well. So this just goes along with every single really good board game. Oh, I mentioned Descent. One thing I really like about this, there isn't 1 billion cards. How many of these games have I played where they're like, oh, do you got the 7 cards that are my abilities? Do you got that 16 card set that is like the different magic weapons? Or do you have the tavern cards? Do you have the blacksmith cards? Do you have the city cards? Do you have the dungeon cards? Do you have the monster attack cards? I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't deal with 8 billion of these little tiny cards, and where did I put that one? And I knocked one over. I love the fact that this game is like situated distinctly on the player boards, the 3 player boards that you set up. And then, yeah, there are some little cards, but they're kept to a minimum, a very minimum, and I love that. So, like, as much as I love the old Descent, I hated the fact there were 1 billion cards in it as well. But anyway, if you're looking for an awesome game, and you like these fantasy dungeon crawl type board games, I strongly suggest you take a look at Chronicles of Drunagor. I think you will be very happy with it. All right, until next time, I'm the Undead Viking. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, you continue being awesome. I'll try to do the same, and I'll see you next time.